All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, wherever you are, it's an afternoon in Melbourne, but depending wherever you are, you convert it into your own time zone. And my name is Agustinus Nalwan, and I'm the head of AI and machine learning at Castles.com. And I'm also an AWS machine learning hero. And today, I'm going to tell you a bit about a story about how I actually built Curio. It's a bot that plays a video for my toddler. And before I start, I always like to introduce to you a little bit about myself. I work for a company called Castles.com, yeah? And it's we own a portal which facilitates car buying and selling. And we have both private and dealer car. And at any given time, we have about 230,000 cars, with 5,000 new cars coming in daily. And apart from cars, we also have bikes, boats, trucks, caravan camping, anything that with wheels on it. And we also have an international presence. We own a very big portal in Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and also South Korea as well. And since 5 years ago, my passion is all about AI. And from the first moment I actually knew it and used it, I fall in love with it straight away because I can solve many kinds of problems that I couldn't solve before. And luckily, I work for a company where I can apply this passion in my day-to-day work. So me and my team, we're all having fun every day building all kinds of cool technology. And the one I'd like to mention in particular is called Cyclops. This is actually a car identification AI that we built about 5 years ago. And it's able to identify the car from the make, model, body down to the series, just from a single photo. And this technology alone is driving many products within car sales. So, for example, if you're now trying to sell your car through our mobile apps, you do not need to tell us what car it is because we already know. Cyclops will look at it from your photo. And apart from Cyclops, I'd like to also mention Mystic. This is an AI that we built and deployed just early this year. It's a ratio number blurring technology. So what it does is it looks for a ratio plate in the photo of all of the photo that was uploaded by our seller, private and dealer. It looks for the ratio plate and it blurs the photo, blurs the ratio plate, and in order to protect their privacy. And the intent is so that the ratio cloner, which is very oftenly scouting sites like car sales, Gumtree, eBay, looking for cars similar to theirs, and then crop and print the ratio number photo, stick it into their car, and then commit all kinds of criminal activity, like stealing petrol, driving into freeway without paying, and burglary, all kind of things that you can imagine, with the expense of the original owner of the plate. So we use Mystic to protect their privacy. And as an AWS machine learning hero and an evangelist, I'm very passionate to present in public conferences, meetup, just like this. And I want to broadcast, I want to share my knowledge and experience on AI to as many people as possible. And especially I want to grow an AI ecosystem in Australia. And I want to raise an awareness and change people's perception that for today, if you want to jump into AI, you do not need to have a PhD degree, and you do not need to have a very, very deep understanding of mathematics as well. So especially with all of these high-level tools, for example, like Amazon SageMaker, now you can build an AI model super easily without needing to know what is the technique that drives this technology. All you simply need to do is to be able to prepare the data, transform it, and being able to analyze, evaluate your model. That's all you need to do. So this is not like 5 years ago when everybody have to use open source and then build the model themselves. So now back to the main topic, building Curio, a bot that plays video for my toddler. When I show this project to many people, most of them ask me question, why? Why do I build this? And it's all because of Dexy. Dexy is our 2 years old toddler, and he's very, very active and super curious. He likes to point at things like, for example, here in his favorite map books, he's pointing on a whale and ask us to explain what it is. And here, when we took him to Russia on the plane, he's pointing at the aeroplane wings, asking what the hell it is. And here he's pointing on the ramen photo. And this curiosity, plus starting this March this year, as I'm sure many of you are aware, most of you from Australia, during the coronavirus 19, in Australia we are under lockdown, especially in our state in Victoria. So all shops, restaurants, all closed. Yeah? Entertainment venue all closed, and including childcare and school closed. So parents have to look after their children now 24/7 at home. Yeah? And this is actually quite tough for parents to actually work from home, like me and my wife. Yeah? And especially with DeXe, which require constant interaction. There is no way for us to make him able to entertain himself, yeah, and even go out somewhere meeting people like what he used to be able to do. Yeah? So we need a way to distract him, and need a way to make him able to self-serve himself. Second reason is STEM. Yeah, I'm a big believer in technology, and I always believe that the future is technology, and I want to expose DeXe as early as possible to technology. So he become more familiar, and hoping that one day he will pick up the passion as well. Yeah. So given those two reasons, yeah, I built Curio. Yeah. It's a bot that can detect where if DeXe is present, and it will be able to greet him, asking, "Hi, DeXe," and then it's also able to see what toys actually he bring. Yeah. And it will recognize it, and it will say, "Hey, it's a panda. Wow!" And he will then be able to play the video about panda. Yeah. So this is like an end-to-end self-serving entertainment solution for him. All right. So the bot is called Curio. You're probably wondering why. Yeah. It comes from the word question plus curiosity. Yeah. Which actually reflects the behavior that he demonstrated. So I started brainstorming and start designing this. What are the individual building blocks that is actually needed to drive this? Yeah. So first, obviously, it's a coordinator, which coordinates all of the modules. And I also need a module called a visual presence. Yeah? And basically, this is the module which is responsible to present what Curio looks like, yeah? And how to animate Curio as well. Yeah? And the third module is Sight, which is connected to a video camera, which is constantly detecting, recording footage of what Curio sees. And then it's also responsible to detect whether a face or any kinds of toys that he brings present in the video footage, and will return the bounding box to the coordinator. And the fourth module is speech. Yeah, this is the module which is responsible to make Curio able to speak, yeah, to create DeXe. And last but not the least is a video playback module. So once it detected a toy, yeah, it needs to be able to search for that particular toy's video and play. Yeah, so this is all the high-level modules and how they interact with each other. Yeah? And now, in order to implement all of this, yeah, you need a hardware platform. Yeah? And the perfect platform that I actually managed to find is a Jetson Nano, NVIDIA Jetson Nano. Yeah? This is a supercomputer. Yeah? It's a micro supercomputer as big as my palm here. Yeah? It's super tiny. And it's running a full Ubuntu operating system. Yeah? And it is GPU enabled. And it has a camera interface. So you can plug it into this, like for example, here I'm showing a Raspberry camera. Yeah? And it has interface to audio and video as well through HDMI. So I can connect it to a TV to show Curio. And it has an Ethernet port, which then you can connect the system to the internet. And finally, the most important thing is it's super cheap. It's only $59 US. It's really, really cheap. Yeah? So all of this ticks the box. So definitely this is a good choice for me to use. So now, like I mentioned earlier, this is a fully working computer, yeah, running full Ubuntu operating system. So you can see all the desktop, you can use it fully, just as you actually install this Ubuntu on your laptop computer, for example. And make it even better, if you connect the Jetson Nano into TV, you can see all this desktop, and you connect it to your keyboard and also to mouse. You can just simply use this as a normal computer, right? And it's so much easy for you to be able to debug your system. Yeah, you can even install your IDE and debug step by step your code right inside this. Yeah? So make life so much easier for on-edge technology deployment. All right, so next I'm going to take you through each individual modules, yeah, to show you how I built every single one of them. Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to emphasize that this is actually very important. The visual presence, the first module, is very, very critical. Why? Because we're dealing with a super tough user here. Yeah? This is a tougher user that I've ever faced throughout my experience building all kinds of software. Yeah? First of all, this user has a very short attention span. Yeah? And they are very critical and unforgiving. and will give you zero feedback. You don't like it, just not going to use the application. And they are very destructive. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll introduce you our user. Yeah? It's a 2-year-old toddler. Yeah? So how do you win them? Yeah? In order to win them, you have to have a successful bonding. Once you created this bonding between the two, the system and DEXI, then everything's a lot easier. He will get interested actually to play with it. Yeah? So in order to achieve successful bonding, yeah, I gathered the first component, the first factor that I need to hit is it has to be cute. Yeah, you're talking about kids here. Yeah, it has to be cute. So second, it has to be realistic. And for the first factor, the cuteness, yeah, I gather the easiest way is to use an animal that actually he liked the most, which is Dex. It's a dog, yeah. So it's Dex's favorite animal. And to make it even more resonate with him, I model it after our lead dog Pepsi. That's the one on the right-hand side there. The realistic factor, yeah. The critical factor here is realisticity is very critical if you want to bond with the virtual avatar. Yeah? And I learned this through my past experience as a motion capture and games developer. So that was my past life, yeah, and which teach me a lot. Yeah, the most important component for realisticity of virtual avatar is eye contact. When you interact with the avatar, you have to get the avatar to look you in the eyes. Otherwise, you don't feel like you're talking to living things. Yeah. So for that reason, Curio need to be able to know exactly where my head is or Dex's head is and point his eye directly towards it, which means we need a head tracking component. All right, so the second also important factor for realisticity is a fidgeting. Yeah? As any living things, we all fidget, we all animate. Yeah, we're blinking our head, we're flicking our ears, just like dog here. Yeah, what would you expect to see if you interact with a dog? They're wagging their tail. Yeah, they also randomly gazing eyes side by side. Yeah, like this dog here and doing some ear flapping dance. Yeah, well, this dog is maybe a bit exaggerated, but you get my point. Yeah. So in order to achieve all of this, yeah, you definitely need a game engine. Yeah, an engine which is able to show a visual component of Curio and animates it as well. Yeah, and you need a component called skeleton animation system. Yeah, and what it is just a simply cool terminology for assembling all of the body parts together into one avatar. Yeah? So as you can see here, you can see Curio is built from various body parts: head, ears, body, tails, eyes. Yeah, and like I said earlier, you assemble them hierarchically. Yeah, you attach the head into the body. Yeah, body is a parent of the head, and you attach it onto a joint. That red dot there is a joint. Yeah, and you attach the tail into the body with the same concept using the joint, same with the ears, and also the eyes. Yeah. Once they're all connected, yeah, you then can apply a local transformation. Again, this is just another cool terminology for animation of a body parts. Yeah. If you look at the ears there, yeah, you see the joint of the red dots there. Yeah? I can now rotate the ears around that joint. This is what's called local transformation. Yeah, animating just the individual body part. The second thing that you can do now, you can do a parent transformation. Yeah? And you can see now I'm animating the head around its joint to the body. Yeah? But you also notice that all of the children of the head, which is the ears, yeah, eyes, all moving along with the head. Yeah? This is called parent transformation. Yeah? So this is really what a skeleton animation system is. Yeah? It's nothing complex at all. Yeah? So in order to implement this, like I mentioned earlier, you need a game engine. And there is an awesome game engine framework for Python. It's called Arcade Game Engine. It supports OpenGL. Yeah? And what it means is all of the animation and the sprites rendering is all done using GPU. And what's good about it is our Jetson Nano has GPU, right? So it will utilize the hardware acceleration within the Jetson Nano. It will render the game super fast. Second, it supports sprite transformation, as what I showed you earlier, the rotation, translation, and also scale as well. However, there is one tiny problem. There is no skeleton animation system support. So there is no way for you to attach the body parts or all of these sprites around join and animates the parents and hoping that all the children got animated together. There is nothing like that. Yeah. However, that's not a big deal. You can just build your own. Yeah. It's not really super hard. You just have to remember your maths back at the high school, maybe for some of you. So you can represent a rotation, translation, and scale as a 3x3 matrix, really. Yeah. So you can see here the matrix on the upper right-hand side. It's a translation matrix, yeah, where you put the x and y value, how much you want to translate that point. Yeah. Rotation is that cos and sine there. That theta sign is just the angle of the rotation, how much you want to rotate the object. Yeah. So it's not super complex. Yeah. You multiply this with the point x and y that you want to transform. Here you go. You have the transformation already. Yeah. And finally, yeah, once you are able to animate the individual body parts, yeah, you need a keyframe animation system. And again, this is another cool terminology of something that's not really complicated. Yeah. What it really means is it's a transformation applied over a period of time. Yeah. So then let you animate things like ears flapping, eye random gazing, and head movement, tail wagging. So for example, like ears flapping, yeah, rotating up and down, right? So how you achieve that is simply just rotating it slowly over time. Yeah. And if you actually do it repeatedly, it looks like the object is animating. Yeah. It's really as simple as that. All right. So here is the final visual presence animation of Curio. Yeah, you can see it actually looks cute enough now. Yeah, it's a wagging tail, flipping ears, just as like normal dog. Yeah. So our first job is tick. Second module is sight. The key component of sight module is an AI object detection model. Yeah, which is connected into a Raspberry camera. And this is again a super awesome camera. It's very cheap, as small as my thumb here. And it's a Sony IMX219, and it only costs $25. Yeah. So this camera constantly get recording a footage of what Curio sees and sending it to our object detection AI model. And the job of this model is to detect the presence of the face and Dex's toys, yeah, and return the bounding box where are these objects actually identified. Yeah. Building object detection model is not super hard because there are many open source object detection models that you can use, yeah, like SSD, ResNet50, Faster RCN and YOLO, SSD-Lite MobileNet V2. Yeah. Each one of them has a pro and con. Yeah. One is super complex, more accurate than the other. Yeah. But of course, the one that's more accurate most of the time is slower than the other because the architecture is more complex and the neural network is deeper. Yeah, so you've got to be very careful because you are dealing with the on-edge deployment. So Jetson Nano is a powerful GPU hardware, but of course it will not be as powerful as a GPU inside your computer. So you've got to be very careful in choosing which one is really right for you. Yeah, and for me, the right one is SSD-Lite MobileNet V2. Yeah, and because it achieved the accuracy requirement that I want, which is above 85%, and with the frame rate of 10 frames per second. So what it means on the second point there is it's able to identify object inside the video footage 10 video frames per second. So it can process 10 times a second. Yeah. So this is very critical, yeah, because if it is too slow, it's only able to detect once a second, for example. It will miss the toy as the actual waving toy around. Yeah. So this is very, very critical. 10 frames per second, I can live with this. Yeah. All right. So now, how do you train the object detection AI model? So first of all, the parameter of this model is it has 4 classes. Yeah. It's able to detect 4 types of object. First is a human face, and then it can detect a panda, aeroplane, and a train. Yeah. So it's able to detect 3 of Dex's favorite toy. And for each one of this class, you need to collect about 150 images. Yeah. And the resolution of the image is not that high. It's just 300 by 300 pixels. Yeah, it's good enough for our use case here. The toy is actually is clearly visible, even though the resolution is this small. The annoying part now is after you have these training sets, you have to label them. Yeah, and labeling is a dreadful process because it's just like it's very boring task. Really, it's you binding box it every single images. So the way I achieve this in an easier way is actually I record a video, yeah, using the same setup, using the same camera, yeah, same Jetson Nano, And then I load this video into this labeling tools called EVA. It's an open source labeling tools and very cool. You can load a video and you can fast forward the video and you can actually bounding box the selected frames that you want. I have to actually endure the dreadful task of labeling every single one of DeXe story. So there are like around 500 images there. But just to speed up the process even further, I still need to label the faces as well, right? So I actually utilize Amazon Rekognition. It's an off-the-shelf API service. You can pass in an image there, and it will identify the location of the most popular objects, like cars, aeroplanes, and also human face. So I send all of my photos into Amazon Rekognition to get the bounding box of all of the faces. So here you go. So I do not need to label the face. So once you have all of the label data sets, you just simply need to train it. And I use an AWS EC2 to train it. And I'm using the P32X Large. This is actually a very powerful GPU in AWS. And I start my EC2 instance using a deep learning AMI. Again, I'd like to emphasize here, deep learning AMI is very useful for you if you want to do a training in the cloud, because otherwise you have to install your own the CUDA GPU driver, and you have to install the TensorFlow and all kinds of library. Will definitely take you at least like 1 day to set all of them up. While the deep learning AMI is already have like already Dockerized all of this. So you simply just like extract this and you have everything set up for you already. So and the most important thing is it takes 5 hours to train. So with the cost of like around like how much, $3 per hour training. So this training costs about like $15. It's not a big deal. All right, and here is the training result, and this is the way to measure the accuracy of object detection. And I wouldn't go down to too much details. Later, you can ask me a question in the Q&A section at the end of the talk if you want to. But this matrix, the mean average precision and loss, looks very good because it's all one is going up, the other one is going down. That's all that you care about. And 0.8 MAP is actually quite good result. All right. So now the site and visual presence is completed. And time for me to do some calibration and testing. And I'd like to show you just like a 1-minute video to show you what is this calibration testing looks like. Cool. Okay, so now let's move on to the speech module. It's very obvious. The job of the speech module is to allow the Curio to be to talk. So, and the technology behind it is also straightforward. It's just a text-to-speech. You pass in a text into a text-to-speech engine, and it will generate you a voice at the end, right? And there is a very cool text-to-speech framework for Python, and it's called PyTTSX3, and it's running totally offline, purely offline inside the Jetson Nano. However, I find that the speech driver for the Ubuntu operating system is actually not that great. The output quality is terrible, and I'll let you be the judge to this. I'm going to play this audio and let you hear it.
Hello, DeXe. My name is Curio. What do you want to show me today?
Okay. Yes, it sounds like a Stephen Hawking J, right? So, well, no offense to the guy, I'm actually a big fan of Stephen Hawking. However, this is a total deal breaker. All of the cuteness and this bonding thing that we were planning in the past, right? It's all gonna ruin and demolish just like this building here, right? So DeXe will just gonna freak out and run away, not wanting to play anymore with Curio. So definitely I need a replacement for this text-to-speech engine. So it comes to my second choice. Initially, I was a bit of concern, but later I'll tell you why. So Amazon Polly, it's actually an online text-to-speech engine. You send the text into the cloud, to this API service, and it will generate the audio for you to download. And here is the quality of the audio now, if you can compare with the previous one.
Hi, DeXe. How are you today?
This is exactly the voice that I want for Curio. So like I mentioned earlier, there is a bit of concern because this is an online, right? So you worry about the round trip of sending the text and downloading the audio back will actually introduce latency. Yeah. So Curio will actually wait for like 2-3 seconds until it start talking. It's actually horrible, right? However, I was proven wrong. Yeah. It's super awesome that the response time of this service is only 200 milliseconds. Yeah. From the moment you send a text until you get back the audio, it's only 200 milliseconds. This is definitely totally acceptable for me. Yeah? And with a much better speech quality, this is a winning choice. And yes, it's an API call and you pay per call. Yeah. However, it's not so much of an issue because I can cache it. Because I gather that I only need to generate maybe like 30 to 40 maximum variation of sentence that I want Curio to talk, right? And if I want to generate the sentence, what's the point of making the API call? So I simply just cache it against the key, which is the text that I want the voice to be generated. Yeah. So no issue on that front. All right, so speech component is done. Now moving on to the video search and playback. Well, of course, this has to be something that running on TV, yeah, and then it has to be able to play video, yeah, as I said earlier, yeah. So, and of course, before that as well, this component need to be able to search for relevant video of the toy that was detected. If Dexy carry like a panda, it needs to search for video for panda, right, and play the video. So before I embark with the journey of building this module, I already realized we are talking about a toddler here, right? So we need to make sure the content that we present are safe. Yeah, there is no violent, nudity, any kinds of like a crazy stuff that actually you do not want your kids to see, right? And obviously the right choice for this is YouTube Kids. Yeah, it's a super awesome because then I do not need to make sure that whatever video that I actually pull from YouTube is safe for Dexy because YouTube Kids are all already curated, yeah, for us. And if you want to play YouTube video, well, of course, the playback software is better be a browser, yeah, because it can do all of this already. Yeah, it was designed on browser. So luckily, there is a Chromium web browser, which is a fully functional web browser, which runs on Ubuntu operating system, yeah, and it works on JSON Nano. So all I need to do now is is to build a module that able to control this browser, yeah. Search through the video that I want, clicking the button to play, all kinds of things to bring the video to life. Yeah? And here you go. Some of you can guess, I'm utilizing the automation suite, which is called Selenium Automation Framework. Yeah? This is the tools that a lot of QA out there use to test the web browser, yeah? To test the functionality that you deploy on your web. So clicking the button automatically, making sure the button works, and make sure that it will take you to the right place. And entering the form, yeah, you can do all kinds of things to automate how we normally interact with the web browser. So Selenium framework has a Python binding. Yeah? So what it means is it comes with a framework that you can import in Python code, yeah, and then you can write codes to specify the instruction, what text to fill in, what button to click, yeah, just like that code that I show you on the left hand side there. Yeah, that's actually a Curio script code there, Selenium code. And running this code, it will automatically, first Curio have to pass the authentication, yeah, in YouTube Kids, because that website want to make sure that you are the parent, you are not the kids. Yeah? So you have to go through a series of checks. And luckily, this has to be needs to be done only once. Yeah. So and Curio able to automate all of this. Next time you want to play another video, you do not need to go through this anymore. So that script able to actually clicking that button, I'm a parent, and then filling in the year that I was born, to verify my age, and then also able to automate searching for the panda video on that search bar, yeah, to bring up the video list of panda video, and also able to click the first video to play it full screen, yeah, by clicking the full screen button, yeah. All of that jumping around, yeah, is all happening only within 3 seconds, yeah. And then while it's happening, I put the browser outside the TV screen. So to make sure Dexy doesn't see all of this, yeah, because it's like it's just noise. And once the video starts playing, yeah, I bring the browser back into the TV area, yeah, and then show it full screen. So here you go. The video search and playback module is done. Yeah. So finally, the biggest module that you probably can guess is the coordinator, which actually basically gluing everything together. Yeah. It's responsible to talk to the visual presence, to render Dexy's animation, to Curio's animation. It's also talking to the site module to constantly getting what kind of object is detected, and what are the bounding boxes. It's also talking to the speech module to generate the voice to greet Dexy and to do some confirmation. And also finally, once a toy is detected, it's talking to the video playback module to search for particular toy, panda, and then play the video. That's a high level, And slightly going a bit deeper now, Inside the coordinator, there is this state machine. So Curio have 4 primary states. So depending on which state he's in, it will do certain things, and it will also a certain event will also trigger the jump from that state to another state. On idle state, this is when Dexy is not visible. Curio is in the idle state mode, and engaged state is when Dexy is visible. And when Dexy is bringing a toy and Curio recognizes the toy, it will enter the object recognized state. And finally, once it plays a video, it will enter a playing video state. And in the next slides, I'm going to show you slightly bit deeper how all of these states interact with each other and what event trigger the jump from one to another. Okay, idle state. In idle state, if Dexy is visible within half a second, Curio will say, "Hi Dexy, do you want to come and play?" And Curio will jump into engaged state. And if Dexy no longer visible for the next 10 seconds, Curio will jump back into idle state. And if a toy is not detected in engaged state, Curio will say, "Hey, do you want to bring me something?" And if the toy is detected and Curio hasn't played a video about this toy previously, it will say, "Hey, I think that's a panda," for example. And then it will jump into object recognized state. And if that toy is still visible for the next 2 seconds, it will say, "Let me play you a video about panda," and start playing the video. Just to give a bit of a more variation, in Curio's response, if the toy is detected and Curio has played a video about that toy previously, it will say something slightly different. It will say like, "Hey, we have played with this already. Why don't you bring me something else?" And in idle state, engaged in object recognized state, in this 3 states, Curio constantly talking to the fidget animation and site module. Fidget animation for animating the Curio, to make him look cute and engaging. And site module, to constantly checking what toys and is Dexy there, to track all of this transitional between states. And in engage and the object recognized state, Curio will consult the head tracking module to use this module to drive the Curio's eyes to keep looking at where Dexy is. All right, so that's all the state machine inside Curio. And now I've got everything set up and running. So I actually set up in our living room here with a big TV, and I put the Jetson Nano on top of my piano chair there. And well, mind about the cabling underneath. I need to make it safe in the future, but for now, this is all what the setup that I have. So that's the Jetson Nano. As you can see, it's actually not big. So, and even the camera is even tinier. So super small. And I run this system on the first day and to test whether everything's running fine. And I noticed that actually Jetson Nano is super hot. It's running and the frame rate drops to 5 frames per second. And you probably wonder why it drops from 10 to 5. Drastically dropped. And if you recall earlier, I mentioned that I'm getting 10 frames per second from decoding the video and object detection modules. But this is not the only thing that the Jetson Nano need to actually deal with. We still need to actually test the game rendering and also need to actually talk to Selenium browser. All kinds of things will happening in the background, which drops the performance all to 5. Which is still okay. It's not really perfect, but it's still okay. All right, so now it's your time. So I want to introduce Curio for the first time to Dexy, and I picked the right time for this. So I waited until Dexy's nap time. So I have an hour and a half to set up everything on the living room, making sure everything's set, all perfect and sunny, and I install the camera with a tripod. I want to record the video of the first time he interact with Curio to be able to show you what's the bonding process looks like and what's his reaction. So I'm going to show you a 2-minute video after this. And enjoy it. It will show you exactly that moment. And also at the end, there is some blurb that I actually added as well. All right.
play? Hey, I think that is a panda. Hang on a second. Let me play you a video about a panda.
What year is this grade? Let's find somewhere to have.
See, do you want to come and play? Do you want to bring me something? Hey, I think that is an airplane. Hang on a second. Let me play you a video about an airplane.
Hey! It's me, Abby! Whoa! And look at what it is! Whoa! It's an airplane!
I think that is an airplane. Hang on a second.
All right. As you can see yourself, it's a successful bonding. So I was so excited after 3 months of hard work, finally it paid off. So as many other systems, especially version 1, I know that there are a lot to improve for Curio, yeah, and this is what I'm planning for the future, yeah. So the first problem that I noticed, yeah. All right, the first problem that I noticed is about the field of view, yeah. The Raspberry camera that I use is only have a 77 degree of angle, yeah, angle coverage. So as and hence, if you look at the picture on the left there, yeah, when Dexy is standing right next to the TV, in front of the TV, yeah, he's on the blind spot, so Curio cannot see him. And also the same as well with the photo on the right hand side. When Dexy is sitting, that panda toy is actually in the blind spot; it's not visible. So instead of using 77 degree angle camera, I should actually get the 120 degree one, yeah. And the second problem is replayability. And as you notice that Curio has only been trained for 3 toys, yeah. So I should actually train it with more toys to give him more varieties, yeah. And also, instead of choosing the first video that always came up in YouTube Kids, I can actually introduce randomness. Pick the first 10 or something, or pick random out of the 10 instead. So, and the last improvement that I probably can make is a faster frame per second, yeah. So to improve the response of the system and to improve the rendering of the game engine as well, yeah. And maybe I can introduce some multi-threading, so I can actually run the Selenium in the background in separate threading, yeah, which I do not know whether it's possible or not, yeah. However, there's something for me to explore in the future. And of course, I can always upgrade the hardware from Jetson Nano into Jetson NX or HGX Xavier, yeah, which is 40 times more powerful than Jetson Nano. All right, so the next section, I'm just going to show you a bit of highlights. Once I deploy a Curio, I'm getting a lot of like a positive feedback and then result out of this. And here you go. I was quite surprised that Curio was showcased in the Jensen Huang's NVIDIA GTC October 2020 keynotes. Yeah. So this is just like last week. I was so excited. Yeah. And also the NVIDIA actually select Curio as winner of the Jetson project. Yeah. And that was actually quite surprising and exciting for me as well. And finally, thank you to NVIDIA. They actually sent me a free Jetson HGX Xavier. So now I have no more excuse. Whatever I said earlier, I can just use this to actually improve the system response time. Then I can do it. Yeah? All right. So, and finally, thank you to all of you guys who's patient enough to come and watching my talk today. Yeah. And if you want to know more about me, you want to follow me, you want to know other projects that I've been building, and especially if you want to know, want to access the source code of Curio, it's all available on my GitHub, and the links are all provided there. And after this, I will drop it into the Slack channel as well, so you do not need to rush in writing all of this down. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have for today. So I believe now is the time for Q&A, and now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, we are back here now. Wow. So I'm happy to take any question if you have one. No? So you all are very easy audience. Yeah. You need to give me more pressure. Cool. So if you have no other question, then thanks a lot for coming today and watching, and I hope you enjoy. Oh, here you are. A question there. How did you deploy the code to the Jetson? Okay, yeah. Because it is connected to the internet, yeah, you can just SSH in or FTP from your desktop, yeah. So you can do all kinds of things, yeah. So what the development framework, etc. How do you deploy the code and development framework? The development framework the same because it is connected to the internet, yeah. You can just do pip install the Python framework, whatever it is that you need, yeah. But first of all, before you install the framework, of course, you need to install the Ubuntu operating system, yeah. And before that, you're not connected to the internet because there's no operating system running, and that's not hard as well because Jetson Nano was designed to run on a USB, not USB, on the memory sticks, yeah. And this memory stick, you can flash it. You flash it with the Ubuntu image. You download it from the source and use the NVIDIA tools to actually burn this image into the memory stick, and that's it. You plug it into the Nano, and it just works. It just runs Ubuntu straight away. And from there on, it's just like how you normally install framework in Ubuntu. Yeah, if your computer is connected to internet. Any more question? Cool. All right. So seems like it's a wrap. So I hope you all have an enjoyable evening and enjoy the rest of your conference. And I hope to see you all again next time.